Hello, everyone, and welcome back. After a year and a half, like I promised, it's the Committee Reads. And with me today, I have GVR, Showmama,
Hello.
and Nagoda. And today, we will be giving a read over match 165, Grand King Ghidorah versus King Ghidorah and Mecha-King Ghidorah. Heisei version.
The retired one.
Yes, the re-retired. Oh gosh.
Yeah, this was his return, and then we just
Retired him again.
We killed him again.
every time I think about Heisei King Ghidorah and the KWC is just like the same feeling I get when I think about the DCEU.
The real reason this took so long to do is because Kaiju War was still depressed over the re-retirement. He couldn't read the unretirement right after the re-retirement.
We need to bring Heisei back again.
Just to retire him again. Written by Harley Jameson and banner by Stephanie Hughes.
Man, it's almost like we should have that labeled.
Yeah, I know. We're working on it.
Not fast enough. When was the last HD upload?
Oh gosh, too long ago. Anyway.
We need to get back on that.
Yeah, we will.
Start reading. How dare you delay us? I say as I keep talking.
Stop raiding it, motherfucker.
Okay.
Points a gun at Kaiju X.
The year was 2204 AD, and Earth had fallen into chaos. The planet, once known for its formidable monsters, unbeatable to all threats that came across its path, was now in ruins. Stories of a powerful monster from the heavens with bolts of yellow lightning and an aura of gold were told. Those survivors picked up the pieces of humanity and were re-Christianed Futurians. The Futurians started rebuilding. The old cities were abandoned. New cities with fresher atmosphere, better resources, and stronger defenses were built. The people of Earth had managed to again survive near destruction, with science increasing tenfold. New medical techniques made disease all but gone, and time travel was in the making. They were surely unstoppable. Peace was brought again to the near-dead planet, and they all swore that if the golden dragon of old came back to their home, they would defend it with every last breath. Little did they know such an oath would be tested. The skies were clear over the ruined city of Tokyo. A few birds were singing as some animals walked across the grass-covered streets. A mighty achievement of man was now a paradise for animals to call their home. It was a peaceful day for all involved, and New Tokyo was enjoying the relaxation of a day off from work. Nothing could ruin this peaceful day. In the Global Defense Force base, one of the soldiers frowned as his spatial radar began beeping. Sir? His commander walked over, raising an eyebrow. Yes, Spielberg? There appears to be something heading towards Earth. The commander's face paled a bit, and he sharply turned around. This is an emergency, people! I want all eyes on that object. Call G-Force. We need those projects they've been working on.
Earth isn't capitalized and also no combo between emergency and people, so it's emergency people.
Emergency people.
We need to have top emergency people on this.
Yeah. All the emergency people. We need all of them. He sprinted toward his command console, switching on a video conference with Ghidorah Force Co-Commander Chuck and Glenn. Commanders!
Chuck and fuck.
Yeah, Chuck. Commanders, an unknown object is heading its way toward Earth. Now with a capital E, so it's actually addressing the planet. The two glanced at each other, leaning back. Let's wait a bit, Commander. We don't know if it's the Golden Dragon or not. Sir! The commander turned at the sound of his panicked rookie. It broke through the atmosphere. The clouds swirled around the meteor as it was quickly engulfed in flames from its descent. A long trail of smoke followed as it streaked over New Tokyo. Sir, it's headed straight for the old city. They all watched on screen as the meteor smashed into the ground, dirt and concrete flying everywhere. The birds flew into the air and deer scattered. The Futurians watched with bated breath to see if something would come out of the meteor, if anything would. Maybe the nervous rookie suggested, maybe it's just a meteor? A loud bell-like cackle was heard, and in a flash of golden light, Grand King Ghidorah landed with a loud crash back on Earth, the soil. Its 3 heads waving back and forth as it cackled maniacally. It had come to this planet once to feed on it, and nearly succeeded if not for the human stupid attempt at mind control. Now it was back, ready to finish the job it started decades ago. It was time to end Earth. Screams were heard in the base, and Chuck's grip on his chair tightened. So, the Golden Dragon has returned. Glenn nodded. It's time we send our new weapon to slay the dragon, wouldn't you think? Chuck nodded and spoke into the radio, where G-Force scientists heard their commander's voice crackle. Send King Ghidorah. Grand King Ghidorah cackled happily, spewing gravity bolts wildly, sending explosions and dust rocking up the abandoned street, a few decrepit and rusted buildings toppling over. Grand King Ghidorah knew that no one would oppose it. A bell-like cackle sounded, and Grand King Ghidorah shrieked out as it felt pain for the first time in eons. He turned around, wanting to know who dared attack it. King Ghidorah gave a mocking cackle at the other Ghidorah. Its mission was clear. Kill it. Grand King Ghidorah was outraged. How dare these lowly creatures make a copy of him? They would pay for such an insult, but first to deal with this clone. Pass.
Okay, yeah. Grand King Ghidorah gave a bellow of rage, lifting off into the air and firing gravity bolts at the other King Ghidorah, who responded in kind and lifted off, firing its own gravity bolts at the Destroyer of Worlds. Grand King Ghidorah just cackled as his energy barrier flared up, his own beams washing harmlessly off the shield. He fired his own beams again, smacking into King Ghidorah and causing a shriek of pain to erupt from its 3 heads. The 2 Ghidorahs landed, and King Ghidorah fired more gravity bolts wildly at its counterpart, destruction blowing across the landscape, and what few that hit just washed off the shield. Grand King Ghidorah gave a mocking cackle, the tips of its wings shooting pure electricity at his counterpart. King Ghidorah gives a little shriek of pain as the lightning hit his golden body. Gives? Harley?
I could just see King Ghidorah just being like, "Here, my liege, I'm giving you."
There's a tense
Here,
swap.
have a little screech of pain.
How dare they? No, I'm kidding. How dare she? She's the worst writer we have.
Damn.
She's getting fired.
King Ghidorah flapped its wings, flying up into the air and landing in front of Grand King Ghidorah, its head snaking around and biting at its neck. 2 could play that game. Grand King Ghidorah took this chance and chomped down on its counterpart's necks in return. A vicious tug of war ensuing as both of them tried to rip the other's heads off. King Ghidorah fired his gravity bolts against Grand King Ghidorah's neck, causing a shriek of pain as blood splattered over the 2. Its wings again fired lightning at King Ghidorah, forcing it to let go. King Ghidorah stumbled back, and Grand King Ghidorah opened fire with his gravity beams. Each one found their mark and slammed into King Ghidorah, forcing the dragon back with a wail of pain.
That was a lot of King and Ghidorahs.
Yeah.
Well, good news, Joe. You're going to be hearing a lot more.
The Futurians watched the fight. Glenn Chico commenting to Chuck Wilson. That was the actual noise that Chuck Wilson made. It appears King Ghidorah isn't strong enough to defeat the dragon. Chuck nodded. At least on its own. Emmy. At another section of G-Force, Emmy switched on the radio. Yes, boss? Chuck just smirked. Release Project Mecha. Project Mecha was the first attempt at making a Ghidorah. Unfortunately, one of the Ghidorahs escaped the testing zone, and the finished product was a deformed and dead mess. To the 3 heads, it had 2. Its wings were broken and its tails were incomplete. This abomination would have been left for dead if Emmy had decided to suggest a radical idea. Use the resources the Futurians had acquired over the years and turn it into a cyborg. So what if you threw like a 4th Ghidorah into there?
It would turn to Orochi.
No, that requires 8.
Well, I mean, eventually.
It would be 4. It would be 4 of Chi.
Orochi. Oh my goodness.
The idea was approved and construction had begun, and the project had just been completed. Emmy motioned for the technicians to prep Project Mecha for the launch, pursing her lips. Are you sure this is a good idea, sir? We've never had Project Mecha without a pilot before, and never against an actual monster. Chuck just gave a lazy hand wave, as if she could actually see her. Wait a minute.
Wait, I guess just Chuck identifies as a woman now, I guess.
I'm happy for her.
Yeah, you know what? That will not be changed to the HD iteration.
She had a very large revelation during the course of this conversation. Consider this test run then. Unleash Project Mecha. Emmy just sighed and walked up to her station, putting her headset on. Is Project Mecha ready? After getting all the green lights, Emmy just pressed a few buttons. Launch Mecha-King Ghidorah.
Two
sorry,
more.
1, 2, 3. 2 more?
Yeah.
I like how you could tell what I was doing. Grand King Ghidorah cackled with glee as he saw his inferior clone bleeding and on the ground. Did these stupid people really think they could win with a copy of the King of Terror? Grand King Ghidorah stepped forward, ready to end this abomination's life. That is until Mecha-King Ghidorah made his entrance. Using its teleportation abilities, it was able to arrive at the battlefield instantly. And it just so happened to land right on top of Grand King Ghidorah, who shrieked out in surprise as the cyborg Ghidorah landed on top of it. Teleportation?
I guess the kids is in there, I guess.
Yeah,
What are kids doing here?
Now, you see, what actually happened was with Mecha-King Ghidorah, time traveled a few seconds into the past.
Yeah. You time travel back into the past, but that's don't worry, it's Rebirth of Monster 3 logic.
Well, actually, no, yeah, the kids could teleport, couldn't it? Because it had a
kids could
teleportation
teleport.
beam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids can teleport, so.
X-Men be like. King Ghidorah flapped its mighty wings, rising again as Mecha-King Ghidorah got off of Grand King Ghidorah. While it did not know what this other Ghidorah was, it knew that it was an ally. King Ghidorah fired off its gravity beam as Mecha-King Ghidorah did the same, adding triple laser triple beam to the mix and causing smoke and explosions to rock up.
Super laser piss.
Grand King Ghidorah howled in pain at the combined assault of the Ghidorahs. Ghidorah, 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 Ghidorah.
And then you can pass Ghidorah.
Yeah, pass. Yeah, pass.
Okay. Grand King Ghidorah used its abilities with the gravity to lift it in the air, channeling its protective barrier, and having the gravity bolts and laser triple beam wash off it harmlessly. It roared in anger. Now there were 2 abominations to its name. This was unacceptable.
This is out of control. Now there's 2 of them.
Grand King Ghidorah fired its gravity beams and wing lightning down at the other 2, who each gave screeches and split apart to avoid the 2. Perfect. As the 2 were split apart, Grand King Ghidorah gave a loud roar as its whole body shined a bright gold, and soon a large gold-colored energy caged Mecha-King Ghidorah. No, domed.
Yeah, there you go.
That still doesn't quite work. Energy domed cage.
Yeah.
Domed cage. I love the double domed. Domed
Imagine
cage.
how old.
Maybe it's supposed to be like Homer's dough. That's what Mecha-King Ghidorah said. The Futurians leaned over and shocked, eyes wide. Glenn pursed his lips. I've never seen that before. Mecha-King Ghidorah tried to fly out of the dome, but it quickly fell back to the earth with a shriek of pain as its corrosive effect ate away at its 3 heads. Mecha-King Ghidorah sat there silently, while the Futurians tried to think of a way out of this. But Emmy was prepared this time and flipped a few switches. They weren't out of this fight yet. King Ghidorah, however, was not going to wait for his mechanical ally to move and tore off into the skies, spewing gravity bolt after gravity bolt at King Ghidorah and Grand King Ghidorah, who also took to the skies and mimicked King Ghidorah's movements. What else would he do? The 2 circling in the air and firing wildly, each trying to get a hit off. The Futurians studied the golden barrier as the Ghidorahs had their dogfight in the air. Chuck leaned over. It seems like its touch is corrosive to those who try to leave. Chuck glanced over at his comrade. Even the Golden Dragon? The two smirked and relayed an order to Emmy. Grand King Ghidorah was furious. These two copies of himself were still alive. He gave a frustrated screech, ready to end this until he felt a sharp jerk, and with a surprised cry felt it being pulled towards its own energy dome. Mecha-King Ghidorah shrieked out, firing gravity bolts at Grand King Ghidorah as it kept pulling the King of Terror in with its green tractor beam from the central head. King Ghidorah takes this chance to fly around and plant its 2 feet on Grand King Ghidorah. With a mighty clash, King Ghidorah drop-kicked Grand King Ghidorah close to the energy dome, and with the tractor beam was yanked into the very dome it had created to trap Mecha-King Ghidorah. The mechanized Ghidorah gave a cry, a laser triple beam firing from its middle head and slamming into Grand King Ghidorah, forcing it to slide back and causing a roar of pain as its barrier's own corrosive ability washed over it. Thinking fast, it quickly dispelled the energy barrier, and King Ghidorah swiftly swooped down again, slamming Grand King Ghidorah into the concrete. Mecha-King Ghidorah's middle head opened, and it spewed out a frosty mist, its ice spray coating one of Grand King Ghidorah's wings, and with 2 gravity bolts shattered it. Grand King Ghidorah howled in pain, spraying gravity bolts like a madman, and again forcing the other 2 to back up. Manipulating gravity to its advantage, Grand King Ghidorah quickly rose up, body slamming King Ghidorah and using its longer, more powerful necks to wrap around King Ghidorah's, intending to suffocate the clone. Foam began leaking from King Ghidorah's maws as it tried to fight off Grand King Ghidorah. Gravity bolts fired wildly into the air as its head spit down on Grand King Ghidorah's own powerful necks. But the King of Terror would not let go for such weak bites and clamped down harder, writhing its heads like a rabid dog. Mecha-King Ghidorah fired the combination laser triple beam and gravity bolts, only for Grand King Ghidorah's energy barrier to flare up and have it wash them all away. Its chest port opened, and Mecha-King Ghidorah moved closer and fired its machine hand and capture cables, ensnaring Grand King Ghidorah as the machine hand clamped around the King of Terror's midsection. Giving a surprise shriek, Grand King Ghidorah finally let go of King Ghidorah and tried in vain to shake the capture cables and machine hand off. Mecha-King Ghidorah gave a loud cry as it began pumping electricity into Grand King Ghidorah, who gave the loudest shriek of sheer agony. As it was electrocuted, King Ghidorah began firing gravity bolts at the smoking Grand King Ghidorah, who was now shedding blood from the cuts along its golden skin and the blood trickling out of his mouth. But no one would ever kill the King of Terror so easily. Flapping its one good wing, Grand King Ghidorah took off into the air, the machine hand and capture cables groaning, but doing their job. As soon Mecha-King Ghidorah was dragged into the air, giving a surprise shriek, it released its hold on Grand King Ghidorah. Using its own flight systems, it pursued Grand King Ghidorah past.
Mecha-King Ghidorah ultimately proved to be faster than Grand King Ghidorah. When it was close enough, it fired its ice spray against the Hydra's back. Soon, Grand King Ghidorah's back, tails, and other wing were frozen solid. It gave a shriek of pain as the cold became overwhelming. King Ghidorah flew underneath Grand King Ghidorah, firing its gravity bolts up and shredding into the King of Terror's stomach. Blood rained down upon King Ghidorah, who gave a cackle of glee as it injured Grand King Ghidorah. Using this to its advantage, Mecha-King Ghidorah flew ahead of Grand King Ghidorah, turning off its flight systems and Turning off its flight systems and let gravity take hold, he performed a move previously used by King Ghidorah, slamming into Grand King Ghidorah and forcing it to veer off course, crashing it into a skyscraper. The mighty building toppled down on top of Grand King Ghidorah with a loud cry. The two Ghidorah watched the wreckage patiently. Apparently the multiple of Ghidorah is Ghidorah still. There's no S at the end.
I mean,
The two Ghidorah watched... Is it?
I mean, like for the most part, no. But I think I could.
We've never had multiple Ghidorahs.
We've never had...
Ghidorah doesn't even sound like a word anymore.
It doesn't.
Yeah, this is overall a good match with Bruh.
Right.
The repetition.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, the two Ghidorah watched the wreckage patiently, waiting for the inevitable rise. Gravity beams shot out from the top of the building, taking Mecha-King Ghidorah by surprise as sparks and explosions forced it back. Grand King Ghidorah, bleeding from the cuts on its back, its tails and other wing gone, and its vertebral column a different color due to the frostbite, gave an enraged roar. It fired more and more gravity beams at the two Ghidorah, blowing one of the Mecha-King Ghidorah's wings off. Sparks flying in the air as Mecha-King Ghidorah screeched in pain. King Ghidorah roared in fury and charged at Grand King Ghidorah, who happily met its clone in combat. Both being assaulted with gravity bolts, one of King Ghidorah's wings got shredded, but in return...
Period.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in return, period.
Grand King Ghidorah's already injured stomach was torn into more. The blood coated them with red stains as the Ghidorahs tangled up their heads, each trying to suffocate and bite the other to no avail. Apparently it does have an S at the end.
Okay, yeah, I guess it has an S at the end.
Mecha-King Ghidorah rose. It was weak, but not out. Its power was running dangerously low due to the battle and the recent injuries. It needed to end this, or else revenge would be out of its grasp. Chuck and Glenn stared at the battle long and hard before Chuck spoke. I have a plan. It's not the greatest plan, but it may just win us the fight. Giving a bellowing cry, Mecha-King Ghidorah lifted off into the air, charging at both Grand King Ghidorah and King Ghidorah. It fired off its ice spray, coating both Ghidorahs in ice, to which both began shaking, trying to free themselves. Its machine hand crunched through the ice and lashed onto Grand King Ghidorah. Its mechanical maw opened, the laser triple beam lancing into Grand King Ghidorah's upper body, with chunks of its flesh exploding as it couldn't concentrate enough to bring up its energy shield on the front. Grand King Ghidorah felt a burning rage. It was the most feared being in the universe. It couldn't lose to these defected clones of itself. It wouldn't lose to them. Grand King Ghidorah gave an angry roar from under the ice, firing gravity bolts after gravity bolts, trying to chip away at the ice containing it. King Ghidorah broke free from its portion of the ice and began raining gravity bolts down at Grand King Ghidorah, echoing a mighty cackle. Mecha-King Ghidorah started electrocuting Grand King Ghidorah again. A loud scream of pain echoed throughout the deserted city as the laser triple beam and Mecha-King Ghidorah's own gravity bolts joined King Ghidorah's. The combined quintuple bolt assault of beams, combined with the electricity running through Grand King Ghidorah's body, with the ice encasing him, was too much to bear for its body. With a final cry, Grand King Ghidorah's heart finally gave out. Or to be more accurate, it exploded thanks to all the electricity and the combined assault. With nothing left to support its life system, Grand King Ghidorah was finally dead, and the universe was free of his tyranny. King Ghidorah was not satisfied with just a corpse, and continued to fire its gravity bolts at the dead King of Terror until nothing was left but black burn marks on the dirt. Mecha-King Ghidorah and Grand King Ghidorah stepped back, reaching their own cries to the heavens. Chuck and Glenn just grinned happily. Our test run has been complete, Glenn nodded. And all we need to do now is to master the science of time travel. Chuck nodded and grinned as Mecha-King Ghidorah and King Ghidorah lifted off and flew back.
The Chuck voice kind of sound like a Cobra Commander, and I like that.
As Mecha-King Ghidorah and King Ghidorah lifted off and flew back to the base to be repaired by the scientists at the Futurian base. And then we can finally have the revenge we've been patiently waiting for. Emmy took off her headset and wiped her brow, happy that the Ghidorahs had won. Silently, though, she wondered what this meant for humanity now that they have two weapons of mass destruction at their beck and call. Winner, King Ghidorah Heisei and Mecha-King Ghidorah.
Retired now and not retired currently. So
He almost was.
Yay!
yeah,
Ghidorah.
Retired and almost retired.
yeah, pretty much. But friggin' so basically, like, the match is all like the imagery there. I think is solid. Like, if this were translated into a more video format, I think it would definitely work a lot better. Like, it's still solid. It's all right. But definitely its biggest drawback is the name repetition. There is I know part of that can't be helped because we are dealing with 3 characters that have King Ghidorah in their name. But at the same time, though, it's definitely more so a case of, like, how those names are kind of used, depicted, and distributed. It's, in, like, I know Harley had told me, like, she was, like, at the time, I recall her being excited to work on something like this because it was, like, not many people try, like, names of, say, monsters sort of translated. But I think, as you'll find later, and as we've discussed in a KWC, like KWCC proper, something like Godzilla versus, like, Legendary versus Shin works a lot better by virtue of just how, just because of the way that's presented, like, just because of the way that was able to execute the idea. But I think this is definitely, like, this is Harley's first match. Definitely her first submitted match. And it's like, while I don't think it holds up as well as I want it to, it's still an alright fun time with a couple of errors here and there and a lot of, like, and again, just a lot of repetition. There's a whole bunch of it in here that I'm like, oh, alright then. But yeah, no, for what it is, it's still, like, enjoyable enough. Just, like, it's, like, but it's, yeah. Yeah, no, just a lot of repetition. I like the banner. Like, I like Grand King Ghidorah and King Ghidorah. I felt like it's a good image of Mecha-King Ghidorah, but the implementation into the environment just feels off. Something about it just feels a little off compared to the other two. But yeah, otherwise, though, oh yeah, another bit of history. Like, this was actually a match I was doing, but I couldn't find the drive to complete it. So I gave it to Harley and let her do whatever she wanted with it. And she basically just kind of started from scratch and went from there. So it's like, I'm like, yeah, coming back to it now, it's like, it's so weird coming back to it now. But knowing the fact that she's gotten, like, a lot better from this makes me happy. Because it's like, oh yeah, we've all grown exponentially as writers and, like, with our, like, abilities and whatnot. It's an all-right first outing from, like, new author Harley, but it's still kind of like, it could have used more beefing up, and it definitely could have used less King Ghidorah. So, those are just my thoughts on it and my recollections on it. GBR, what'd you think of it?
Big GPR.
Uh-oh. I don't think he's here.
He died.
No. GBR? I guess he's not here right now. Rip.
GVR is gone. Gone VR.
I can't believe it. If you're there, like, maybe hop off, come back on. Maybe it's a Discord thing. I don't even know.
Maybe he's, like, going to the bathroom or something.
Maybe. Oh yeah, he's muted. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, he do be muted.
All
though.
right, Joe, what'd you think of it?
It's I think I just have the the same problems as you. Like too much. Oh, GVR is back.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
Okay, like too much repetition with the names, and I think the fight gets really repetitive because it's three Ghidorahs. They all three of them beam spam. Like there's not a lot to do, and it's just like my problem with like similar monsters or incarnations fighting each other. It's like it gets really repetitive with the names and the powers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few neat things, but it's, you can tell like it is one of Harley's earliest matches, and I think it's just Banner's pretty cool though.
Hey.
It is a fitting return for King Ghidorah because it's an M match for an M monster.
You're
Your mom's
How dare you?
But yeah. But yeah, GBR, what'd you think of it?
It definitely shows its age.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's still overall good. But yeah, I would agree that like the issue with repetition in terms of both like the actions and the usage of names makes it a bit of a rough one.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's going to be a common theme this season. A lot of rough growing pains. Oh boy.
And people not seeming to realize that you need to use other descriptors for monsters.
Yeah. On one hand, the name repetition made sure we didn't get lost with who was doing what. On the other, reading it was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, no, let me give y'all a writing tip. Don't repeat the names over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just makes us editors want to shoot ourselves.
Yeah. Like this match or Godzilla Sources versus Gorosaurus.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else to add on, or?
Banner cool.
Hey. But yeah. Nagoda, what'd you...
Oh, also like the plot is interesting. I like the unique stuff of how Mecha-King Ghidorah happened.
Yeah, for sure. I think, plot, like, story-wise, it definitely... I guess I'll also go into it, too. It's like, story-wise, it takes a couple of unique, like... It takes some unique liberties and some interesting turns when it comes... Like, part of that is, like, some of Mecha-King's new powers, though obviously that was just something we had instated at the time. It was like, hey, here's this thing you can do with them now. Which definitely, I think it helps a little bit more in terms of breaking up the monotony of, like, electric beam spamming. But I also think that, like, the actual plot, though, it is kind of neat to have, like, G-Force references Ghidorah, not Godzilla. It's like, ooh, that's kind of a neat little detail. Or, like, how... Or even just, like, the idea of, like, yeah, I know, just like the whole idea of like, oh yeah, there are these clone creations and they have to fight off the invader. It is all like really neat stuff. So yeah, it's like, I think it's definitely a very interesting premise for a fight, and I dig it. And actually, now that I'm recalling this from the back of my memories, it's like I remember Harley had the hardest time trying to figure out what to do with the Mecha-King Ghidorah because of the whole time travel element. So it's like in this case, obviously the match establishes it's like, oh, time travel, we're still kind of working on that. But it's still kind of, it was like, what do I do? What do I do? It was just like, oh yeah, teleportation. And I think that was kind of the ultimate workaround for that. So yeah, the joke we made about like, oh, it could just time travel. It's like, would not have applied here. Though, speaking on general character terms, like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, no, it's like, yeah, the story's fun.
Why does
go ahead.
Why does Mecha-King Ghidorah simply not time travel to when Grand King Ghidorah was a baby and kill him?
Because there is a 80% chance that baby Grand King Ghidorah could still kill him.
Well, Joe, go write Cretaceous King Ghidorah versus Mecha-King Ghidorah.
Let's go!
No, it won't be. It won't be Cretaceous King Ghidorah. It'll be baby Cretaceous King Ghidorah.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, so like that one Godzilla match where Heisei King Ghidorah is like half his height.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hey, but if you want to make it even more confusing, throw in GMK Ghidorah in there as just Ghidorah.
Oh my goodness. And Nagoto, what'd you think of it?
The story is pretty good. I like how G-Force in this stands for Ghidorah instead of Godzilla. The banner is really nice looking, the whole futuristic city. That's a good image of Mecha King Ghidorah right there.
Mm-hmm.
And how Grand King Ghidorah's eyes are glowing red.
Mm.
A lot of repetition of Ghidorah, but that's kind of unavoidable when you have three characters with the same name. But otherwise, this was a really good match.
Aw. Well, I'm sure Harley will be upset to hear that we didn't throw this match under the shredder.
Well, fine. Fine, I'll do it. Oh, King Ghidorah can't win. He's King Ghidorah. He has to lose. Godzilla can only win. Why isn't Godzilla in this to win? There.
Oh my goodness. But yeah. But what a way to start off after a long time away. In the meantime, this has been match 165, and this has been the Committee Reads. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.